My name is Eric Noslowski, and I run growth at Clay. The reason I joined the company is because the software was so helpful in changing the way that I ran my outbound agency that I just had to get another piece of the action because it was so good. The things that you can do in Clay combined with other data sources is just absolutely fantastic for your list building purposes. And so we're going to jump into first off, how do we combine and gather a lot of the information to just start everything off? And then how can we use other tools to enrich that information, find better information, validate the information, and say personalized things to our prospects? And then we'll end with some fun using OpenAI to write 100% uh, AI generated emails as well. So the first thing that I just wanted to go over is some of my favorite data sources just to begin with, in case you're not totally aware of some of them. So the first one would be Crunchbase. I'm not sure how many people have a Crunchbase account, but this is phenomenal for getting account level information. And if you don't have it, it's like $400 a year, and it's just a freaking awesome database. We're going to go over Sales Navigator today as well, which there's some tips and tricks in using Sales Navigator that I think a lot of people might not be aware of. And then we also use Apollo a ton for this kind of source of the first level of information. And so the first thing that I always tell people when we're going over these things is we first need to have a really good idea of who your ideal customer profile is. And I'm not just talking about oh, here we go. So sorry. And by the way, if when you're coming in, you can just mute yourself. Sorry, this is on Zoom now. Uh, when you have your ideal customer profile, a lot of times, especially with companies that I'm working with, they come in and they say, I want to talk to the chief marketing officer of any company with 50 to 200 employees who's based in the United States. And what I always tell them is, no, no, you don't. That's definitely not what you want to do, because that is such a large list of people who all are facing completely different problems. You don't have any segmentation. You don't have any, you don't have, by saying something to all of those people, you're essentially saying nothing to everyone, because you have to make it so large that there's no way that you can make that message resonate for all of those companies. So we get a lot of our basis for our information from these places, Crunchbase, Sales Navigator, and Apollo, because of individual filters that are phenomenal that we use in different places. And so Crunchbase very easily, a lot of these companies are all going to have a lot of overlap as far as what's included in there. Everyone's going to have Google in there. Everyone's like HP is up here. But each one of these databases that I bring up because they give you access to functionality and filters that you might not have access to in other ways. And so my absolute favorite part about Crunchbase, if people aren't aware, and I think a lot of people really aren't aware of these things, is the absolute sheer amount of integrations that they also give you when you're searching for things. And so you have your basic info, like the organization name, the headquarters locations, and all of these things. But what people don't realize is down here at the bottom, you have all of this other information from SEMrush, BuiltWith, Apptopia, G2, IP Query, Bombora, all of these that if you were to have your own license to these companies would cost thousands and thousands of dollars per year. Right here, BuiltWith, that's automatically like a $400 subscription that you don't need to get anymore. SEMrush, that's probably, depending on your usage, anywhere between $250 to $500 a month that you don't have to pay for anymore. And then Bombora, which is thousands of dollars per year. They won't even let you just get monthly things, I'm pretty sure, where you can get intent signals coming straight with your data. So a lot of people, when I speak to them about list building, they have no idea about all of the integrations that come baked into Crunchbase that make it so powerful above just the basics of the funding rounds and has the company made acquisitions, and their people data is okay as well. Now, with that, going on to Sales Navigator, I think we all have a love-hate relationship with Sales Navigator. It's got all of the data that basically every other database is basically scraping LinkedIn to find all of their data. But Sales Navigator is, of course, the user interface that gives you access to it automatically. And so a couple tips and tricks with using Sales Navigator that I see a lot of people missing out on is, for the first part, using activities and shared experiences. This one down here, change jobs in the last 90 days. User gems will charge you thousands of dollars to find people who just recently changed jobs, and it's all right here in Sales Navigator, and people just don't take enough advantage of it. We can talk about later how we can use Clay to further enrich this data to make it much more useful for you. But change jobs in the last 90 days is one of my all-time favorite filters, as well as posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days. This is just really good because if somebody's posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days, they're in like this 0.5% group of people who are actually posting on LinkedIn, which means they're at least trying. Which then you know that their profile is active, you know that they're trying to build a brand, you know that they're trying to do something with their company. It's just a great signal of intent in a lot of different ways. My third favorite that I tell people about all the time and people don't take enough advantage of is the groups. LinkedIn groups is probably the worst community feature on the planet of big tech software. Like, it is terrible. The only way you can get into these groups is by going on LinkedIn and typing in manually, like, I want a group about marketing. And then you sift through all of these groups that you know nothing about. Maybe you request to join them, and then you join them. They're full of spam. You get no value out of them. You don't connect with anybody through them except for like these bots who are just talking to people, and all of these things. And the reason I am so bullish on using the groups feature is precisely for the fact that LinkedIn groups are so terrible that if somebody is a part of a marketing automation group, right? Marketing automation experts. How many people are in this group? Let's just let it load up. There's 23,000 people who are in this group. And let's see just in the United States, because usually I target people in the United States. There's 23,000 people in the United States. So there's 10,000 people in the United States who are in this group, and they've joined marketing automation experts. They did not find this group because they got invited. They did not find this group because they saw an awesome post and they accidentally found their way in there. They found this group because they went to the LinkedIn search bar and they said, I am so interested in marketing automation that I want to join this group and I want to learn more about it. Now, they kind of got bamboozled because they're not going to learn anything about it from LinkedIn. But when we're building our lists, this is an awesome free intent trigger, if we want to call it quote unquote intent, that we know that these 10,000 people are highly interested in marketing automation to the point that they joined an awful group that they get no value from to be in there. So that's by far one of my favorite features in LinkedIn that a lot of people are usually missing out on. And by the way, I'm kind of monitoring the chat, but if anyone has any questions while we're going, I'll definitely be hopping on those. Then if everything else I think is pretty basic, you've got industry, years of experience. It's so funny. This is a filter by LinkedIn and their years of experience is usually really rough. This isn't a great filter to be using. And then what was the other one I was going to show? Oh, years in current company and years in current position. I use this one all the time, especially when you're looking for either highly experienced people. The difference between a real estate agent who's been at the same brokerage for 10 years and a real estate agent who's been at a brokerage for a year, totally different person. Same thing with financial advisors or any other industry where there's a low barrier of entry and people are kind of like in a revolving door with it. Target people by years in current company or years in current position, and you could be talking to the ones who are the serious ones. Or if you're trying to sell into people who just got to the company, they're trying to make some new waves, awesome filters to be using over here. Then in accounts, oh, whoops, nope, I want account filters. In account filters, the only thing that I want to share with the group is the fact that account filters, a lot of this stuff is really well known to you. Company headcount, super obvious. Number of followers, super obvious. Industry, super obvious. The only thing I like pointing out is company headcount growth and department headcount growth. Both of those percentages are based off of the 12-month cycle of the company. They'll never tell you this. I had to sit on LinkedIn support chat for, I think it was like 30 minutes for them to finally find somebody to tell me what the time duration was on these two filters. And so if you're ever using these filters, just know going forward that this is a 12-month look back of all of the growth that they've had in the past 12 months from this date. And then moving on from some tips and tricks in Sales Navigator, another huge favorite of mine is Apollo. As you can see, we have 1.2 million saved leads in Apollo. We use Apollo a ton. I would say my favorite part about Apollo is the include exclude list of companies, where you can drop about 5,000 websites in here, or you could drop in email addresses as well. About 5,000 websites in here, and then you are only talking to people at those websites, and we could do some quick examples for people that don't know, because I'm asked constantly, how do you get a list of prospects who are working at, you know, these 4,000 companies? And I'm always like, Apollo has it. It's super, super easy. You don't have to go too far, right? And so I'm sure a lot of us know already how this works. And so here is everybody under the sun that Apollo has coverage on, all 70,000 people who work at Zillow, Zoom.com, and Salesforce.com. That's one of my favorite features. Another one of my favorite filters is I like to regard Apollo as the closest thing to a copy of LinkedIn that any of the venture-backed companies will really give you access to. And so if you don't have any ideas around how to scrape LinkedIn, or you don't want to put your account at risk, or you just don't even know where to get started when it comes to scraping, one of the best features they have in Apollo is this years and current role. And if you could put a minimum year of 1 year, but if you want that like 90-day job change in here, you could also put 0.25, and that works as well. And then you could throw that on, and here are all the people who just got started. Again, this is a little rough. 0.25. Oh, wait, we actually have to put one more filter on. Whoops. Actually, we want the max year to be 0.25. So now we'll get all of the new people who are at the company. This is a little fuzzy as well. I like using Clay to find their actual time that they've been in the company to be able to find these things. But so then buying intent, I have no clue where they base it. Actually, they'll tell you where they base it off of. I forget the name of the company so far, but this is very rarely used. I get a lot of questions about this buying intent, and if anybody uses it, you know, rest in peace for anybody who shows intent for lead generation services, because they're probably getting 200 emails a day from everybody who might be using that. So we usually stay away from that for the most part. Let's see. Total user experience is another one as well. Let's see. Technologies. I've asked Apollo about this. Their support team has gotten back to me. The technologies filter in Apollo is built with. So again, if you're ever looking to consolidate tech stack needs, technologies in Apollo is built with, and they're not going to give you the same coverage that built with will give you. But I know of so many people who are looking for Shopify stores. They'll get the list of Shopify stores from built with, and then they'll pull it into Apollo, and it's just so much easier to just pull Shopify just straight with the technologies and just use one platform to do so. So a lot of the platforms that we just went over, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen for this part and see if there's any other questions. A lot of the platforms that we just went over, all of you probably have context on a lot of them. And all of those databases are also most likely scraping the same information. For the most part, they're all scraping LinkedIn. They're all finding information about the persona. They're all finding self-identified information about the company, and then giving that back to you in some kind of user interface that they are breaking down with credits, and they're doing those kinds of things. The real use case that we then inject Clay with on top of this is Clay gives us access to databases that nobody can build enough of a business off of that they actually create a proprietary database with. And then 2, it also allows us to enrich the data in one place in a way that none of these databases would give you access to. So we can, 1, filter our lead lists for far more interesting things, which then of course allows us to say far more interesting things to our prospects on the back end. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of those use cases with you really quick. And we're going to do the, finding companies that offer a free trial sign up. That's awesome. First, we're going to do a Google Maps and Google search list, because those are just really good anyway. And then
Eric,
yes.
Since we're 14 people, is it all right if I just ask a question?
Yeah, let it rip. Sure.
All right. So built with, you can say technology, and then it gives you a list of technology. So if I use that through Crunchbase, can I make a huge ass list of company and then say go through each one, which of these huge ass lists of company use X
Yeah.
technology using that built with, or is it like very
So
manual?
actually, what you would have to do is you would have to either download everything and then get one list for built with, and then you'd have to download everything from Crunchbase, which they're not going to let you do because they'll only let you export 1,000 out of Crunchbase. And if nobody here works for Crunchbase, I would recommend just scraping it. But then you'd have to take that whole list. Then you're going to have to hope and pray that you could get the domains to be the exact same, and then you'll do an index match across both of them in an Excel file, and then that's where you could get the technologies. Or, which we could go over right after this, you could take your list from Crunchbase, bring it into Clay, and we already have the built with integration, and we could just run boop, 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 all of the domains straight there. And I can show you how that's done.
And just to be clear, anything and all the integrations through Clay, you don't need separate subscriptions for that. Clay already covers that on the back
Absolutely.
end.
So there's only
Okay.
three integrations that you need a separate subscription for, and that's People Data Labs, Owler, and People Data Labs, Owler, and Clearbit. I know this. I know Varun and Kareem are on, but I was just looking at Omar's comment. So no, you don't need a separate subscription for those. You need a separate subscription just for those because they're just a more expensive database, but then everything else comes included in your credits. Omar, just to react to that really quickly, yes, Crunchbase also limits your scrape to 1K via their pagination. So then what we'll do is we'll just spin the searches, everyone. And if you're not familiar with that, when I say spinning the searches, what we'll essentially do is so all of this information we could easily scrape with Instant Data Scraper. If you just, oh, I'm not sharing my screen right now, sorry. So all of this information we can easily scrape with Instant Data Scraper. So yeah, there's 522,000 results though. We're never going to get through all of those. So what we would do is we would refine our search to the minimum search that we want. And so let's say I only want companies that are Series A companies. 55,000 Gs, that's still really big. So let's say we only want Series A companies. Then we would just add a filter to the search that doesn't matter to the overall search. So it could be if I want, oh wow, whoops. If I want companies that I want every Series A company in the entire world, I could just put location, and then I would just spin it based off of location. And then I would put, you know, the United States. And now, of course, this is still going to be like 48,000 companies. Okay, 25,000. But so then we'll just keep spinning it and we'll go up to that 1,000 limit of the pagination, spin it down, and then go someplace else. So let's keep that in our back pocket, Don. I'll show you how to do the built with setup. Actually, I think I even have
Cool.
the built with one right here. Actually, let's do this right now.
I actually invited my friend just joined who needs to find companies using a specific applicant tracking system.
Oh, perfect.
Bullhorn.
Yeah, yeah. So very easily you could see, so this first example, everyone, let me just set this stage real quick. This is this is actually a scrape from Apollo. We set all of our filters and we said, all right, we need this information and we're going to reach out to these people for a cybersecurity service. So the information that we got ends at industry. So we scraped it and we got full name, LinkedIn, title, company name, website, LinkedIn, headcount, industry, right? We found their work emails inside of Clay. These already come validated and they're good to go. Then what we needed to do is we wanted to look up their technology to see what, if any of them are using Zendesk. And so this is very, very simple, and I'll set it up completely again. All you would need to do is you just jump in and you hit enrich data, and then we'll go to built with, look up technology stack. Then for the company domain, we're going to map the token to the company domain, which is our website. And then we're literally, all we're going to do is just put in Zendesk. And then we can hit go. I'm also going to, because he's looking for applicant tracking systems, I'm going to put Lever in here and Greenhouse just so that we can make this a little bit more custom. But this list wasn't necessarily made for that. Then we would just hit save changes. And then we would just click run. And now we're looking at all in 20 seconds, we're looking at all of these domains to see which ones have Lever, which ones have Greenhouse. And of course, this system is a little, these companies don't have these because this list wasn't made for that. But see, this company is using Lever. This company is using Lever. Is it Lever? Am I just being an idiot and saying that wrong, by the way?
It is Lever.
It is lever. Wow. Okay. Thanks, Varun. All right. So they have lever. Nobody has greenhouse so far. But anyway, we just instantly checked all of those very quickly. Is there, I know his friends just joined, Adon's friend. Is there anything else that you would want to know about these companies and what applicant tracking system they're using?
So I'll be honest, I'm actually on my phone, so I'm kind of trying to see if I can see the screen here.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, this is being recorded, so I could send you the recording afterwards.
So
But
number one, that'd be awesome. Yeah, if you
yeah,
could send me, that'd be great. What we're really doing is we're actually dealing mostly with recruiters, with recruiting agencies. So it's more of like, let's say like ATSs of Lever, Bullhorn, um, let's say Job Adder, Job Diva, ICIMS, things of
yeah.
that nature.
And so
But
all it would be is just you keep adding more commas and you just keep looking
okay,
for those technologies as you keep going. And then you just hit save changes and you just run it again for all of those technologies.
awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I came into the middle of this, so I apologize. I'm not going to ask too many questions, but
No, yeah,
I'll
and
just
I'll
go with
send
the
you the recording.
recording.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd
absolutely.
be awesome. All right, thanks
So
so much.
yeah, absolutely. So I have some other custom lists that I was going to go through, but we have this open now. So we're just going to go through some of the requests real quick. Joe was asking for finding open roles for recruiters. We have done a lot of things within the product to be able to find this automatically. And in January or February-ish, we're going to have an even higher level of fidelity to be able to do this. Currently, the best ways to do this would be to go to Enrich Data. And we have three ways that you can currently do this. The first way is to use our predict leads integration, which would be over here. And we could find active job openings by domain. So we would just feed it the company website. And then we could filter by three things. We could filter by department, we could filter for job titles, and we could filter for job descriptions. Each thing obviously has a benefit. So departments, obviously, if you just want to know anyone who hiring for any finance position, awesome. Keep it to departments. Job title, if there's a specific job title that you as a recruiter can help place, or if you are running a service company, a SaaS company, you have a product, whatever it might be, and you either integrate well with a certain job position, you make a certain job position more productive, or you completely replace a certain job position, looking for the job titles that you replace, integrate with, or become a co-pilot for is awesome right here. Filter for job description. This is great for responsibilities. I was just helping somebody with Salesforce admins. Not everyone in the company that's a Salesforce admin is going to have that as their title. They might say sales ops. Looking in the job description for Salesforce administration is really good to find those things. The other great thing that we can use here is built with. We'll look at companies who have a technology installed on the website. It is not possible to look beyond the website and know that a company is for, say, using QuickBooks because they never connect it with their website. It's not, well, not that they never do. There's times that they will, but most companies won't. So if we were looking for accountants so we could put accountant, and in their job description, they mention QuickBooks. We can make an inference that this firm is using QuickBooks because they're saying something like, as an accountant, you're going to be responsible for, managing QuickBooks and this sales tech stack, this financial tech stack. But the same thing is in sales too. Like no one's going to install SalesLoft. Actually, there's like 1,000 companies that install SalesLoft on their website, but that's nowhere near all the companies who are using SalesLoft. You can find it in their job descriptions. So then very quickly, getting back to the main point, finding open roles for recruiters, Joe, then we would just run through, hit the play button, and now we'll find, I didn't set any filters, so now we're going to find anybody who's hiring and they exist in the predict leads database. Now, the thing that I'll say about predict leads is they have a very wide database, but they don't have everything. That's why I said we have three options. So they have a very wide database, but there are other databases that go a little wider, but we're going to lose out on some accuracy. And so if the job is in the predict leads database, you get an awesome formatting of everything that's included. We have the program manager, we have their location, we know what category they're in, we have the description, and everything is formatted really well. I guess they didn't give salary data. We have the last scene, we have the first scene, super awesome formatting that is the same every single time. Now, if they don't exist in the predict leads database, That's not the end of the world. We also have a Google Jobs integration where we would be able to find Google job listings. Now, I'm not sure if anybody's taken a look at trying to find a job on Google Jobs, but Google Jobs is like crazy. If you look at, I want to look for every company that's hiring accountants in Florida. Like they will tell you, we found this job from LinkedIn. And then they'll give you another job and they say, we found this job on Indeed, and they're surfacing it for you. Or we found this job on the company's careers page, and now we're surfacing that for you. So Google Jobs is extremely wide. The problem with Google Jobs, though, is the data comes back a little bit messier. So if we include our website and we include the company name into these filters here, these inputs, company name, company domain, and then we won't search for any keywords. We just want access to it. Now, we might find this has more of a hit rate than Predict Leads, but like I said, you'll give a little bit on the formatting side because this is Google Jobs. They don't want us scraping it, but we are. You know, this is the name of the game. And so see how this is a good example of one that Predict Leads didn't have it, and Predict Leads didn't have this one, but Google Jobs has it for this company, right? And so I just want to give just a couple showings of why we use Predict Leads sometimes and why we use Google Jobs other times. See how this is type full-time IT operations manager, and see how type here is $125,000 to $150,000 a year. These two things don't totally match up. And if you're trying to do some data work, the fact that these columns don't match up is going to get in the way for you. But with our OpenAI integration, now you can just ask GPT-3 to organize this data for you, and it'll do a good job of that. And we can go over that later. And then Mark also asked, finding companies that, well, before we finish this, Joe, is there anything else about this workflow that you'd want to see?
No, no, that's pretty awesome. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Now, we got a request from Mark for finding companies that offer a free trial sign up. This is probably one of my favorite integrations that we have in the entire platform. That this was the thing that made me really say, like, wow, this tool is nuts. We can automate Google searches, which before we talk about it might sound like, why would I want to just keep automating Google searches? What you can do by automating these Google searches is essentially build a custom database for yourself that no other company is ever going to be able to sell to enough people that they're not going to put the time and the effort into putting these things together. For instance, I can find a list of every lawyer in New Jersey, but no database is going to go through the time or the energy or the investment to find every lawyer in New Jersey that mentions employment. They will mention wrongful termination, right? But they mention wrongful termination on their website. We can absolutely find them through Google. So a couple things that we're going to have to do is we're going to use some Google search operators to narrow this down even more. Actually, we're going to clean up this whole thing just a little bit more. If you haven't heard of Google search operators are a way to search Google with a laser-like amount of accuracy that you wouldn't get in a normal Google search. And so what we can do is we can ask Google very bespoke questions and get back exactly what we want in return. And so the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm normalizing the URL, because the first thing we're going to use is we're going to use an operator called cite. And what I'm telling Google, we could just all mute because I know we're in, yeah, perfect. When I say cite, I'm essentially telling Google, hey, I want you to search all of the internet, but only keep it to one specific site. So I could say clay.com, only search clay.com. And when you search clay.com, I want you to find the word operator. And we could type that in and see how basics of Google operator searches comes up. And there's all of these other pages that include the term operator, but it's only clay.com. We only have 4 results and only clay.com is showing up. So if we were to do the same thing, but we were to put www. The accuracy just isn't the same. So that's why I normalize the URL first. And now we're going to take this normalized URL and we're going to do the same exact thing. So now we're going to do search Google. And I'm going to say cite. And we're going to go to normalize URL, and we're just going to put the normalized URL in here. And now we're going to do a couple things to make sure that we get it. We're going to first enter a parenthesis because we're telling Google, I have a whole group of requirements that I want you to group these things together. And so we're going to search this site and we're going to search, we want any result that says free trial, sign up, or free trial, or or just trial. Or what would be another word that they might use? Let's say sign up for free. And so now we're telling Google, search this website, whatever is in our normalized URL field over here, Essence, Better Talent, Red Band, search just this website and give me any result that comes up for free trial sign up or free trial or sign up for free. Those exact phrases, because I put quotes around it. And now I usually just put the number of results to 1 because I'm looking for a signal. I'm not necessarily searching for, every single link that they actually have that mentions these things. And we don't need any of these things as well. We'll hit save changes and now we'll run this. And now we're just automating these Google searches to programmatically find all of that information. And so now we already got one that came up. We will go into search results, open up the nested JSON formula in here, and we can see the link that they mention, the free trial, what's the title, what's the snippet. So we could say they have a free 2-day trial. The snippet is awesome if you want to put this into OpenAI and say, you could say something about, tell me something about this company's free trial process, or tell me how long this company's free trial is. And then you could use that in your email and say, I notice you have a 2-day free trial. The number position doesn't matter for this particular search because we only got the first one. The displayed link that we get about this results, their sources, regions, all of these things. This is actually very interesting, this keywords part. So you actually know specifically what keywords did Google find in this situation. So for this one, it found free. And then snippet highlighted keywords, it also found trial. So now we would have a list of all of these companies that mention free trial or something to that effect on their website. And in order to be left with a list of companies that mention free trial, I'll just map to the table the position number. So see if there was no results, there was no position. And then we would just add a filter for position is not empty. And now we go from 556 companies to 208 that mention free trial somewhere on their website. And so, Mark, does that answer your question for that one? Oh, get started. Yeah, that would have been good. Build a list of SaaS companies. Step 2, run this. Yes, exactly. So, and I have a list of SaaS companies that if at the end people are asking questions and I can pull it up, or I'll just send it out to everybody who attended. I have a list of 32,000 B2B SaaS companies and 28,000 just like generally quoted SaaS companies that I could pass out for everyone who attended the event. But then, yes, you would put this into Clay and you could just automate this Google search exactly the way that we just did it. Okay, cool. So any other questions about using Google search in that way? In about 2 months, you won't even need that list, maybe even a month. It'll all be in Clay where you'll be able to find your account list and the people list. Yes, Adon.
So just for an example, you want to find plumbers that offer a certain service, let's call it toilet unclogging. So you can do a search plumbers and then the website mentions the word toilet unclogging and then you'll get all those.
Absolutely. So that was actually this use case was the first one on my list, but then we just jumped into people's custom lists because we're all here. But so yes, that would be
specifically toilet unclogging.
Yeah. So we can use Google search not only as an integration to enrich our data that's already nested within the table, we can also use Google search as a source. And so what that would look like is we could either use Google Maps or we could use Google search. For this particular one, I'm going to use Google Maps and then we'll use the Google search integration, because when you use Google search, sometimes you get a lot of messy SEO stuff, but I'll still show you how we would get it done. So we'll hit Google Maps here. Yes, there are lots of toilets, Maurice. Thanks for joining, man. Really appreciate it. So the search query is going to be plumber, and we're going to put plumbers in, and I use Nashville as an example. I don't really know why. And then we just need to head to this website to just get the latitude and longitude. Whoops. And then we'll throw in the latitude and longitude for the Google Maps search. And we'll hit continue. We'll open up a new table. And now we have this source running of all of these plumbers in Nashville, right? And so we found these businesses, which usually, yeah, I was going to say it usually goes way past 20. So we
Oh
have
yeah,
all of these.
so how long does it take Clay to like generate stuff? Is it like sometimes your queries are too big and then you have to like come back the next day and leave it like mining for Bitcoin? Like, like
So
how-
it really depends on the search, and we also are aware of this. It depends, one, on the search, but then it also depends, two, on how many other people are running things at the same time, which we're fixing that. That's not going to be a problem. I've actually haven't even heard of it as a problem for a couple of weeks now. But yeah, it just really depends on the integration. So this is, mining, what was that, 20 seconds that we've been talking, and we have 172 plumbing companies in Nashville, which I would say is probably every plumbing company in Nashville. We got pretty dang close with all of it. So now we see all these outputs, right? So we have their phone number, their title, their Google review rating, how many reviews have they received, their address, their data ID, and their website. But the website is the most important part. So we're going to map that to the column. And now we have all of their websites. And we're going to go through the same process. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to normalize them so we get a nice clean output. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to set up our Google search integration. And we're just going to say site : and we're going to map our output right in here. Whoops. Great. And then you want toilet unclogging, right?
So let's do something else. Let's do something more like 24-hour. So then we know all the ones that
Sure,
offer
yeah.
24-hour service.
Love it.
I'm just giving an example because, for example, I target SMBs, and this is like a way to get much more granular on the segmentation, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the whole purpose is, and that's why I said when we transitioned from just the general, like, good databases out there that a lot of people are using to Clay, is that we can get so much more granular information about our prospects, their lists, what problems they might have, that no other database is going to have this included, because it's not, they don't include it, not because they don't want to, but it doesn't make sense for them to make the investment. So it's nothing wrong with those companies. They're still great companies to be using, but we can jump in far more and get a lot more results here. So now we could be searching this site, because none of them are going to make the investment to find every company that mentions 24-hour on the site.
Yeah.
But now we can, and we'll go with this company. Do they mention 24-hour or 24/7 or 24 hours? We'll hit save changes. And then we will let this one rip. And we'll see what we get back. I bet Mr. Reuter is going to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, because of this, just curious as far as trends for people who you see who are buying Clay and adopting it. Do you see some people just getting rid of their other data vendors, or is there still a place for those other data vendors alongside?
For sure. Yeah. So I see a lot of people getting rid of their enrichment stack. So there's still a lot of people who are using a tool like Apollo, or they're using Sales Navigator, or they're using Crunchbase. But then instead of paying for Apollo's credits to find email addresses, or buying an email validation tool to clean those email addresses, people are doing a lot of that stuff just inside of Clay.
Gotcha. So if I have Clay, there's no real reason for me to have Apollo, right?
So I'm going to make a big, bold pitch that will be true once we integrate our new company data set and our people data set. That will be the case. But candidly, at this point, that isn't the case. And at this point, the tag team that I use, to be honest, is between Apollo Search and Clay Tables, is the whole stack that we use. It includes everything that we need for running outbound campaigns. So here we have the call 24/7 right there. We pulled up everything on this site. Actually, this is a very interesting use case for this particular one, because if we look at Mr. Reuter, actually, this is really cool that we found this. Varun, we got to make a video on this later. Mr. Reuter is a franchise of, the entire United States of plumbing companies. And since we didn't get rid of the South Nashville part over here, we still found only on this link that they mentioned 24/7. So in the South Nashville location, they offer 24/7 service. This wasn't found on Mr. Rooter's just like general homepage. This was the South Nashville location that we found from Google Maps. So it gets, the site feature still holds on to all of the things at the end. So it's really nice. All right, cool. With that, there was another one. Every B2B crypto company that uses HubSpot. Lonnie, this is a good one. This is a really good one. Okay, so what I would probably do candidly is I would probably source my list of B2B companies first, and then I would get this into Clay for HubSpot. So Harmonic is a great data set that has really good data on tagging these companies. And so I would just jump in and I would say tag list contains any of, and I'm going to say, come on, give me crypto. Yeah. So we're going to say crypto, and then we're going to say customer type is any of B2B, B2B and B2C. What do we think? You give me what you need. So we'll just do B2B for now. So we have 580 companies that fit this description, and we would just export this real quick. Sometimes they take a little bit to export, but now that we found this, now we could very easily jump in and add the built with, and I'll just do this for you right now. So I'll send you the list once we're done. Now we would just take this and walk through the same steps that we did before, checking the built with database for the use of HubSpot. You also could do this using our Google search integration as well, and you'd have to spin searches. It would take a little bit longer, but if you exhaust the amount of companies that Harmonic has, which is only 580, then that would be the next step that you would kind of go to, which I'll just finish this up for you. Cool, and then you wanted HubSpot. Whoops. We'd hit save changes, and then we would let it rip. And so now we'd be checking, yep, here we go. So we have this company uses HubSpot, this company uses HubSpot. And they probably use most of their technologies here too. Yeah, their analytics and everything. Oh, Maurice, do I have to slow down? Sorry, I just went a little bit fast.
No, it's fine. I can follow. I'm looking forward to the day in the future where I can be as fast as you.
Oh, I appreciate that, but I don't mean to go too fast for people. I was only trying to go quick because we were jumping between tools. But yeah, so I would just start with maybe another company. Crunchbase, candidly, Crunchbase would also have some pretty good information on the fact that a company is crypto. Not so much if it's a B2B company. But they would have good information on crypto companies. Apollo would have good information on crypto companies. And then the way that we can find out if we think that they're B2B is we would use a couple different things. So one, if they're using a CRM, so we would just open up a new built with technology stack here. We would also find, hey, if they're using a CRM, we would just go to the category, save changes. And now we would get a signal of anybody who's using any kind of CRM in general, which is usually a pretty good, oh, wow, that's so interesting. Why did it do that?
I mean, one challenge maybe, Eric, I previously worked with built with a lot, and the CRM is not necessarily something that is externally recognizable always, right? I mean, with HubSpot, you can, for example, search for, are they using the HubSpot forms on their website?
Yes.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they also use HubSpot as a CRM.
Eric,
So maybe try marketing.
Varun, what were you saying?
Why don't you scrape predict leads job descriptions for the word Salesforce?
Yeah, so that was the next place I was going to go, is now if you have,
that's a good one.
We could find active job openings by domain, and we would enter in the website. And now there's a couple things that we can do here. One, we can look for in their job description, do they mention Salesforce, HubSpot, Pardot, Pipedrive, any of these kind of B2B technologies? We can search for that. The other thing that we could do is we could find if they're hiring for sales development representatives. If they're hiring for sales development representatives, great signal for that they're a B2B company. And I'm just going to run this one so that we could just watch it. So another way that you could do this is know, are they hiring for sales development representatives? Do they mention B2B-esque CRMs in their job openings? The other thing that you could do too is you can use our find people integration, which then I could say, I just want 5 people, and I could find the company domain. And then I could search here for sales development representative, account executive, all of these titles that only really exist in B2B companies. We can enter these in, and then we could find all of the companies who have these people present as well. And we would be able to give a good flag if the company is a B2B company or not. So like I said, take your list of crypto companies from anywhere, find if they're B2B either in that list, or you could do some filtering in Clay, and then you could use the lookup technology to find any of them who are using HubSpot as well. Okay, I think we have one more. And then we'll come to the end of like the structured event. But then if you guys just want to have a session where we just ask questions and we do things like that and get them answered, we could do that as well. List of managed service providers between 10 to 100, mentions compliance on their website, additional info, uses RMM tool. Cool. Okay, so managed service providers, I would get a list from Apollo first. So I'm going to go industry. They're not going to be an industry, right? Yeah, I didn't think so. So managed service providers, I wouldn't even hit industry. I would probably hit company keywords, and I would say MSP, managed service provider. Cool. And here we have tons of people. What other keywords? Permanent vendor management.
Yeah, that's
No.
half the problem, Eric, is that these guys use all types of different types.
Oh yeah,
This is man.
Yeah, this is another thing that I like to do is after I put in the ones that I know are going to have a hit, I jump in and I'm like, all right, what other keywords is this database
Can I search
using?
them by NAICS code, man? Like if I knew the NAICS code for these guys, would that be helpful?
Yeah. What's the next code?
Off the top of my head, man, no fucking idea. But I
Okay.
figure if I could turn it up, I'll reach out to you after the call.
Yeah. And I'll take a crack at this list. Code for managed service provider.
Might find it on Reddit.
Management. I would say this is pretty good. 51600, and we can go here. Oh, where is it? Oh, no, it's not in this filter. It's in companies. I need an SIC code. All right, anyway, we'll take it from here and we'll try to find it. So then here are all of these companies, right? And we'll save, let's save like 500 of them for a quick little test. And I think we've been over a lot of this process already. So now we'll just hit save on this, refresh it so we can get the list. I didn't save 500, but that's interesting. Hit export. Start export, grab this. We'll get our CSV ready for when Apollo finishes this. Yep. And I know I'm moving a little fast, but kind of purposely doing this to show this. Oh, I didn't do the 10 to 100 employees. My fault, but I will get the compliance on their website done.
Not the end of the world at all, man.
Yeah. So then same thing. So now we would just go by provider. And let's normalize their URL first. So website, let's get that normalized. Make it there. Hit save changes. Run that. And then same exact thing we were doing before. Just site, normalize the URL. And then we're going to search for compliance. And we always put it in quotes because we don't want, when you say quotes, Google doesn't return the result unless it actually finds it. It won't do a fuzzy match or anything. If you want a fuzzy match, 2 quotes on each side is it'll look for synonyms of compliance. Just a little Google search operator hack there. So we'll hit save changes. And now this would be all of the companies that mention compliance on their website that are managed service providers. And then we might have, then it uses RMM tool. Is this something that Built With would pick up, you think?
No idea, to be honest with you. They're usually pretty cagey about their technical stacks. But I've been working with these guys for years, so part of Kaseya and whatnot. Just wondering if that's something you guys are able to easily pull, because it goes miles in cold outbound outreach if you can make mention of the tools that they may or may not be having problems
Oh,
with.
absolutely. Yeah. Let me, I'm just looking at a couple of these to see if it'll come up for you. ConnectWise Chat Assist, is that it?
Terra, is that one of them?
Terra would be one of them, yeah, Mo.
How do you spell Terra?
ATERA.
I've got Datto RMM over here.
Yep,
So let's
that
use
would
that
be
one.
one for sure.
Yeah, let's use that one. Let's use the website. I'm gonna put Datto. It's just sometimes it helps to just at least have a free trial to Built With, because you just want to see how they say their technologies over here. Just so that you get it, this keyword aligned. But so we'll just try Datto and we can hit save changes and let's see if any of these are using it. Oh, Maurice, you're familiar with the space too? Cool, so nobody so far, but we might just use their job descriptions as well to see if they mention it in their job descriptions, like we were talking
That could
about before.
potentially be amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we'll run that real quick. And so I'll do the Google job one just because, like I said, it'll give you a wider range, but the data doesn't come back as clean. But I don't need the data to be clean because all I need is
And honestly, clean data would be amazing, but dirty data, like any type of heads up
absolutely. Well,
information before
if
these
you
guys are calling in is huge.
remote monitoring and management software. Yeah, I could try that. Monitoring.
Or maybe like BYOD, like bring your own device. Like maybe are there other abbreviations that these kind of people would typically use as well?
Well, I'm sure that there is, man. It's just a search off the top of my head that, jumping on this call.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So we'll just do this real quick and we'll see if they mention it in any of their job listings. See, for this job listing, I would use Google because you don't need, like I said, you don't need the specific, like how long has this position been open? What title are they hiring for? Is it full-time? All you need is, do they mention this in their job description at all? And that's why the Google job listing is really good for this one. But like I said, with that, happy to just open it up to any questions for like the next 10 or 15 minutes. I'm still around.
Yeah, I got a question, Eric. Direct dials generally are like expensive.
Yeah.
Especially through Apollo. So I actually already jumped on the Clay Slack, and Varun told me that Clay has already direct dial phone numbers built in, but not as expensive. But People Data Labs, you can buy those for 10 cents each from Clay. Are People Data Labs direct dials? Have you found them to be good? And do you think that this is like a nice way to hack getting direct dials for cheaper?
Yes. So I think People Data Labs direct dials are actually some of the best direct dials out there. So I do like the People Data Labs one. The one that we have in Clay, just candidly, is a database of 10 million cell phone numbers that we were able to get a very, very awesome deal on. And so if we have the mobile number, it has a very good likelihood of being a correct mobile number. But you might run a list of 500 people and get 3 matches just because there's only 10 million and there's like 700 million people in the world. So the one in Clay has a lot less, coverage than People Data Labs, but it's still pretty accurate. But yes, People Data Labs is a great software.
Hey, Eric, any new integrations in the work like natively to send the data to Smart Lead or Close CRM?
So Close, I'm pretty sure we've already done just because it was asked for in the past. And then Smart Lead is my next request as well. I'm a Smart Lead guy. Vaibhav is one of my best friends.
Yeah, no, it's
Yes.
an awesome tool. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is for sure on our radar, and we want to be integrating with it too.
I'm not seeing the close one as an application available.
Yeah, I think I could be getting this wrong, but I think it is. I think it might be behind a feature flag, to be honest, because I think we had to take it down for some reason, or it's a import. Yeah, closed CRM is a source, but it's not a place that we can send data to. So we have to wrap that one up too.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Also, product related question, what's on the roadmap? Because we talked about this now on WhatsApp once. I mean, Clay seems to be really, really amazing if you have a given list of accounts, URLs, whatever. If you struggle to get that initial list because it's not easily available through Crunchbase, Sales Nav, or whatever, yeah, that seems to be a problem. So, I mean, I hinted at it already in my question. It's kind of like, well, if you look for something very industry specific, or let's say every company that's regulated by the SEC or something like that. So that's, well, that would be an easy example, but just generally speaking, account lists that are hard to get by. Is there any way that you think Clay will be in the future be able to pull that data? Because I could see how I probably could use a bunch of filters to get it within Clay to get that initial list. Yeah, that's kind of like a product roadmap question.
Absolutely. So the roadmap that we're going to be, I mean, the feature that we're going to be adding into the roadmap around building a list of companies, getting all of the CEOs at those companies is very, very reliant based off of LinkedIn. So basically you will be able to do a Sales Navigator search-esque type in Clay and then do all of your enrichments straight from there. So you'll still have the problem of, like, for your example, like you wanted all these crypto companies that, have these certain parameters. And so still, I think what you would have to do is start as big as you possibly can and then whittle down.
Yeah,
small.
that's easy. Like, but basically, if I can say, hey, show me every Series A funded company in the fintech industry, then that from there is probably easier then I can use technographical filters, I can use keyword filters on websites, job descriptions, etc., etc. But for me, well, less for me, but more especially for my clients, sometimes they just have very niche requirements on what they're actually looking for. Because they're all in the crypto space, so they are really, really niche with the targeting sometimes, which is good then for reply rates and open rates, because it's so hard to target their
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what I would say with that, and that's why I still tell everybody, and even when I'm on demos with people about Clay, I still tell them, like, hey, candidly, you're still going to need that spot that you're going to like source the initial data from. But if you want to take your data and go past what those databases are giving you, that's where you're going to be using Clay. And then in a month or two, we'll be able to have all of the LinkedIn data as well. So yeah, with those really bespoke things, one, I have an enterprise license to Apollo. So if anybody ever needs something, they're like, like, I wish I could get this gigantic list out of Apollo, just ask, like, I'll pull it for you. Or we could talk about how you like scrape that in a more bespoke way as well. But yeah, that's the way I would do it, is just take as many companies that match it and then filter it down, just like we were talking.
I know it's a little off topic, but Lanny, I used to work for real estate site selection. So if you just kind of Google real estate and site selection, some of the bizarro data sets that these guys have access to that they actually license through other data brokers, it's really kind of wild what these guys are able to pick up. I don't know anything specific to your industry, but I do know if you're looking for bespoke, weird data sets, real estate site selections, if you give a couple of those guys a call and talk to their salespeople, they might be able to hook you up with data sets, but Perfect. It's expensive, just for the record.
Well, I mean, that's a given if you manual. If you could actually put it into the chat, what to Google for, because I'm not sure if I really caught it up.
100%.
Perfect. Thanks, Angus.
Cool.
Follow-up question, because I'm on that, because Moritz and I just talked on that privately as well, because we kind of like work together on a client that probably could use Clay, well, for the outbound specific stuff that obviously makes sense, but also for like data enrichment purposes, because just like enriching inbound leads, etc., etc. You haven't talked too much about that, but that would obviously also be a use case. So just confirming a couple of things. So basically, I could easily, because inbound leads coming into HubSpot, sync them to Clay, enrich them there, pull them back. Stuff like that works, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could, if you want, I could go over like a quick 2-second demo of how that would work. Would that be useful?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so just real quick, it would just be here. So you would sync the list in your HubSpot account. So you'd sync your HubSpot, say contacts. We jump in, and I'm only going to do 50. Another hack is you could sync your Apollo account with as many. You could sync your as many Apollo accounts as you want with one HubSpot account. And I've got like 13 Apollo accounts sending data to one HubSpot account. And it's every time you save a contact, it gets sent to that HubSpot account. And so we have got like all of those 1.2 million leads you saw in my Apollo account is all in HubSpot. I could just like take it anywhere. So anyway, then you would just, whatever you'd want to do, right? So we'll take like, let's just do something really simple. Like, where is it? Let's just validate these emails, right? And we'll just throw this in here. HubSpot contacts, take the email, hit save changes, verify all of the emails, and then once that's done, we would, where is that? We would create or update a contact, and just on the email address level, because that's of course how HubSpot works, we would just verify we would send the verification in there, and you would just send it straight through these tokens. I don't, in my HubSpot account, I don't have the validation one, so I can't do it right now, but you would just add a custom field for validation and then just send it in.
That makes
super
sense.
yeah, super easy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, some words that might be interesting.
Yeah, and so like you could then also use build with to get like, for example, the CRM, and then push the CRM back to HubSpot into the corresponding field.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
that's perfect. That's amazing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Also, what's the referral deal for Clay referrals?
Yeah, I know. We originally we were thinking about, we'll have like this referral program, and at this point, like the product just still isn't in a point that we can onboard a whole lot of users, because it still takes a lot of. I hope that I didn't go too fast, but I know that I did probably go too fast, and there's still probably a lot of questions on how to use the tool. And so we are still going over how can we bring in somebody into the product and have them self-serve to be able to start using it, rather than onboarding every single person. And then once we have that, we're going to open up the wait list, and then we can start thinking about referrals.
So Eric, maybe talk a little more about that nice jacket you're wearing.
Oh, this is a Clay jacket. Oh,
yeah, I know. I'm saying referral program. I mean, but
yeah.
One question that comes to mind is like the credits are by the amount of data you populate. So what happens if you like set up a shitty search, quote unquote, and hit play by mistake, and then boom, it populates this like 30,000 list that's like crap for you, and then it's not even usable just because you were trying to like.
Yeah. So one, you can just select like 10 like you can go in and you can run, and you could just hit run on each individual one and just see what it looks like for you. But we're also looking at being able to test your query and say, if you have 30,000 rows, I only want to run 100 and I want to see what it looks like, then you'd be able to do that.
Cool.
You could also do that now manually too. I mean, people ask for that feature all the time, but if you just copy and paste part of your list into a Google Sheet, download it as a CSV, and then upload it, you could totally do that. And then you could import that big CSV and then just run it again. Totally possible too.
Yeah. I do not want to see your cloud computing costs.
Oh yeah. I'm not even like on that side. The engineers, I like walk in and I'm just like, what's up, nerds? Like I know nothing about what they do.
Yeah. Maybe one follow-up question, kind of indirectly to that. What would be the clients that you would like to see using Clay where you currently feel like they're completely missing out? I mean, obviously we have like outbound growth kind of agencies, cold email, all that. Then I think we have the data enrichment piece, which would be relevant to a lot of clients. But like, who do you think is currently missing out on basically one of the best pieces in
Wow,
tech?
that's a really, really great question. I would say I really think that Clay has a spot at every recruiting agency, every for sure B2B venture-backed company, and who else would I say that's maybe a little bit more interesting? Maybe like private equity funds as well that are looking for very specific deal sourcing too. And all of these people are in the product. It's just we're really, really good at fulfilling on their use case, and I just want more of them to know at how well we're fulfilling on the use case. Also, if you're a user of Phantom Buster, I would say that if you're a user of Phantom Buster, you should become a user of Clay, because the information that Phantom Buster gives you is great, but you really can't do anything with it. But you could bring it into Clay and immediately start having, amazing effectiveness with it. So I would say that's another good one. But Phantom Buster doesn't show up on Built With. I wish it did.
Recruitment agencies for like talent sourcing.
Yeah,
as
like
in,
staffing
finding...
and recruiting. Yeah, staffing and recruiting
okay,
agencies.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on that Phantom Buster thing, actually, quick follow up on that, because the way I use Phantom Buster, or one use case is that I export, let's say, engagements of LinkedIn, and let's say everybody that engaged with a certain post, and then put it into my sequencer. So how would that look like in Clay? So did you kind of like mean that you could replace Phantom Buster with Clay, or was it more like it kind of like adds to Phantom Buster?
It adds to Phantom Buster. Let me see if I already have a table from Phantom Buster and I could show you. Yeah. So Phantom Buster, we're all familiar probably that this is the output Phantom Buster will give you from a Sales Navigator scrape, right? So we've got their name, we have their VM ID, summary, title, all of these things, but like you have nothing that you could do here. You don't have their email address. What's their website? It's like, this is great, but you need more. And so what you could do is you can immediately just plug in their LinkedIn Sales Navigator profile in here and run it, and we'll turn all of these into actual LinkedIn profiles that you'd be able to use, and you'd be able to find their email addresses and all of these things. We're only having this many inputs missing because a lot of these people don't have their LinkedIn profile filled out to the point that they have their domain. See it? Well, this person has the domain, but this person won't. So we would just use their LinkedIn company profile to grab it then. But yeah.
What you guys are building there, Eric's fucking amazing.
I
just wanna
appreciate that. That's why.
Float
That's
that
why.
out there for all the other attendees, man. It's really kind of mind-boggling just in the early stages, the type of information you guys are going to get. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole Google thing is nuts. That's like a whole nother level.
Oh,
I
I tell everyone, I'm like, that's my favorite thing, because
don't
like I said, all of those things that you want to know that no other database in the world is going to make the investment on, you could just use Google to do it.
Yeah, 100%. Especially since I'm targeting SMBs, it'll be very interesting to see like what you can find in websites that tell you about companies that could be cool.
Absolutely.
Or like using certain technologies on the website, right? So if they have that word. So like if you want to sell fintech payment option to dentists, whoever doesn't have that option on the website, I don't know, it's like endless.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Off the top of my head, Eric, are you able to cross-reference, like, and forgive me for just kind of verbal diarrhea here, but the thought just occurred to me, like when you're searching for RMM tools, these guys have big conferences in Florida. Would I be able to take the output list from Clay and then web scrape a conference attendee list to see, basically infer that this MSP uses this particular tool since they were at that conference?
Yeah, there's multiple ways to grab that. I would almost Do they make the attendee list public? That's the only thing. Yeah.
Not
So
usually, but I mean, even if you could find a public one from a couple years ago, I mean, shit, I'd take that at this point.
Yeah, so if you find, like I said, as long as the information's public, yes, you can do it. And it's like, it just all depends on how you want to pull it. Like, do you want to scrape the conference first and then check what technologies they're using? Or do you want to check what technologies they're using and then see if they show up on their website mentioned? It just all depends on how you want to find it. But there's multiple ways to crack that one. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Well, I'll be in touch.
Yeah,
I gotta
absolutely.
roll, but great meeting you guys. Thank you so much for putting this on, Eric.
Yeah, and so if anyone wants access to Clay directly, I'll give you the link that you can jump in if you aren't already a user of Clay. I'm dropping it in the chat right now. I'll leave it open for, the next minute or so for anybody to grab it if you aren't already in Clay. And, feel free to reach out. This is the Clay address, Eric Nosowski.
My friend wanted the recording.
Yes. And I will. This is a little tough because it's on LinkedIn was the registration, but I can pull out.
Or he wants a demo. I don't know if you want to.
I mean,
Or we can
Eric,
just set up a
if
demo.
anyone can do it, Eric, it's
Right.
you.
Yeah, so I will probably
No pressure,
even do a
man. No
follow-up.
pressure.
Yeah, I'll probably even just do a follow-up to everybody who did the
Do you want me to
LinkedIn event
WhatsApp
registration.
intro? Can I WhatsApp intro him
Yeah,
to you?
that's perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, cool.
So like I said, email me. If I said I'd give you a list and I didn't give you the list, I'm probably going to forget. So just remind me. And I'll send things out. And and I'll send out the recording to everyone here.
All right, thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thanks
a
so
lot,
much,
guys.
man.
All right,
Super
thank you all.
valuable. Cool.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Good job.